Hey, what's up, guys? Happy New Year. It's a new year. Forget 2022. And I wanted to start off first day of the year looking at all the predictions that a lot of people have been making. Um, and, the last couple of hours, I've just been going through this stuff, taking some notes, reviewing them, trying to get them kind of placed into my overall thesis. So, again, thought I would, record this as I'm doing the work, thinking out loud, um, and you guys can kind of see, like, how at least going about making some changes to my thought process on how the portfolio should be allocated. Okay, so first things first, we're going to kind of go over some things as a reminder, right? These are things I even forget. Um, that's why it's really like, an OP thing. It's a really good thing to create content, like videos. What me creating these videos, even if there's like one person watching, what it does is forces me to organize my thoughts, and in doing so I can put it into some kind of content form, makes me realize like where we're at. Otherwise, what happens is I'm just scrolling, reading stuff, watching videos, looking at Twitter, and it's like almost like I'm numb. I'm numb until something is shown that I like, right? Like if I believe Near is very undervalued and I see things for that, then I feel like, oh yeah, I'm in the right direction. But it's very like closed off to new ideas, and really closed off to rethinking my whole analysis. Um, if I was to just do it myself. So, anyways, that's something that I constantly realize whenever I'm creating content or like making a video, and it is something that I really want to do more of, right? At least like once a week consistently. I know I kept saying that, but I really want to do that because at the very least, it's gonna make it very, it's gonna keep me myself on check and my portfolio in check. Okay, and in doing so, hopefully, it can help some other people as well. Whole point of this channel. All right, so let's get into it. I got a few tabs opened up here that we'll get into, but looking at the current thesis, right, that kind of got shaken up by SBF's whole thing, which I've been talking about for over 6 months here, I think, is basically this is the risk curve, right? So let me make this a little bigger, that I had in mind, which is easiest way to get $10 million, which is my goal, is 1,000 ETH, right? I believe if you hold 1,000 ETH and you just hold on to that, at some time, you have a pretty good risk to reward ratio to have a $10 million net worth. Okay. Whether that is 2 years from now or next cycle, I don't know, but that's a firm belief I have. Okay. As you go down this list, it gets riskier, right? So 500 ETH and 3 punks, I think, can get you there, but obviously, the world is not being built on punks, even though it's probably the safest bet in the entire NFT space, which is why it's number 2. The ETH has much more being built on it, right? It's going to take a lot more to take ETH down, compared to any JPEG project. Okay, so that's number 2. Then it used to be this is number 3, and this is what I went for. If you remember, if you watched my videos just a couple of videos ago, it's like basically I just couldn't I gave in. I couldn't hold out anymore. I'm like, oh my God, come on. This has to be even close to the bottom. And I even went through my head and did the analysis. Like, even if it goes down from $30 to like, 23 again, which was like the previous low, June of 2021, am I okay with it? And I answered to myself, yes. That's when I went in heavy. And obviously wasn't a good choice. Soon after that, Sol was starting to go up to around 35, 38, and I was feeling like I made the right call, but then SPF's thing got rug pulled, and we know what happened. I sold around 15, lost over $100,000, and here we are. I was really pissed off, and since then, I really like it. Just got ruined. Like Solana got ruined for me, basically, right? Recently, in the last roughly a week or so, I'm starting to see some emerging signs again, but honestly, it's not enough. Like, I don't want to be like saying to the point where like I had so much emotional turbulence that I just don't want to deal with that project. Obviously, that's like partly what could be happening. I'm like I did so much. I kept so much on top of Solana, and then it got ruined. I'm just like, fuck it. Let me just go elsewhere. That's part of me, and the other part is like, obviously, this could be the $80 moment, as they say, and it's gonna feel still at the end of the day, after a couple of years from now, if Solana does survive and thrive, um, and makes it to these kind of targets, or even a couple $100, I'm gonna feel pretty silly. So all in all, it's for sure not number three anymore. That's gonna get let's get it repriced. So let me just take it. But moving on from there, that's what we'll discuss about today. Then where I think near is, what would be the portfolio allocation now going forward, which is probably the hardest question to answer. So I think if I had to give a guess, the video today is going to be probably like, a lot of it is going to be this, because we're going to be watching a lot of clips. But I want to answer these two questions as well. What I currently think with the information we have right now. Okay, so let's go here, January 2023. Here's some ideas, and then here's the portfolio that we'll go to. Okay. All right, cool. So with that being said, as you guys know, the way we do things on this channel is basically we follow people that have really good track record, right? And I use a system that's like, I have the best VCs, people who have hundreds of millions, billions of dollars to invest. They do it professionally. And I look at, by looking at what they're doing. And if they have gotten the top performing projects in previous times, in 2017 and 2021, then they have made it to this list. So here's all the VCs that have made it across, like, I think overall I checked, I think it was like at least like 30 of them, right? 30, 35, something like that. And this is the list that has gotten at least 2 or 3 projects that did 50 to 100x, right? And with this analysis, this lens of the VC, what I do is I also have a list of people on Twitter that have called projects very well. There's actually some people on Twitter I feel are better than VCs. Like the number of bets they made is like fewer, and the number of bets out of the ones they made that did like a 20, 30, 50x is higher. Like the ratio, like the percentage of projects that did like a 10x or more is higher than many VCs, which is insane. So just to remind you guys, the system, the way it is held up, if you haven't, or forgot or haven't watched from the beginning or something, is we're going to see the world through the lens of the VCs, and then use our people on Twitter to confirm and add more conviction for the projects that the VCs have pointed out, right? For the general part, this is the way I'm going about it, right? This is how I'm going to be picking the projects that's going to be outside of ETH, basically. So here's a shot where we had in the past where I put, to get to 10 million, this is the top projects: Solana, Near, Arweave, Cadena, AVAX. And here's the projects, VCs that are backing them, right? And last video, I said that since SBF, a lot of this got shaken off, because Multicoin is like the Polychain Capital of 2021, right? Polychain Capital is one of the oldest VC firms. Guy's, pretty much a genius. He's been in Bitcoin since before Coinbase was even created. He's the first employee, etc. That's the CEO of Polychain. And Multicoin was like really the golden boy of 2021, but that got shattered recently. However, contrary to what a lot of people are giving Kyle Samani, the owner of Multicoin, a lot of shit, I still hold him as a high regard, right? Say what you want, but the guy, they did lead their the people that invest in Multicoin, they did lead them to 1,000x. Like they did that. If they, I don't know how exactly when they sold, how much they took profits. It sounded like they didn't take a lot of profits because they actually said in their articles, in their interviews, that we are long-term holders. We believe that it makes you the word spreads around the industry really fast. If you're somebody who just sells when things get overheated, and you're not a long-term believer, the projects get to know that, and word spreads. They didn't have to say that in interviews. And since they said that, I believe that they weren't people who took massive profits. Maybe they did a little bit, maybe just enough to give the shareholders, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly how this guy's works, but I'm trying to make a case where I'm saying, like, I still will follow the guy, right? He made calls and he got them right. Yes, SBF happened. Yes, shit happened, and people are gonna give him shit. Maybe in some ways he even knew that SBF is doing some troublesome stuff, but I don't think to the extent where he deserves to be put under like direct category of fraud, because he himself had their own funds in FTX. They wouldn't have done that if they knew like for sure the level of the fraud. So not going to defend him anymore. This is not the point of this video. I'm just giving you guys the understanding from my side. If you're wondering, like, why the hell are we still following Multicoin? Because that's my analysis behind it. Okay. Obviously, nothing we say in this channel is financial advice. So, if you're triggered, you can calm down. Because I know people are. I've seen a lot of people really triggered at Kyle. Right. But poor guy. Anything he says, they come like, "Why aren't you in jail?" It's like, guys, this is not like 3 arrows, man. Like, all right, okay. So let's this is our guys. So let's go through this quickly, because there's really not much to talk about here. I covered them recently. Basically, we go through what are they investing in, and I'm paying a lot of attention on this. I'm waiting, like, guys, when are you gonna start investing again? Right? All the VCs were investing much more frequently before SBF. After SBF, crickets. They're investing a little bit, but it's all like in one or two things. It's like they left the L1s. It seems like they're just in NFT, tech, and a little bit of games. Not a little bit. I mean, games is probably I think NFTs is the most invested asset class, right? NFT infrastructure, not JPEGs, by VCs. And the next is like gaming. And but they're not getting into L1s and stuff, right? Celestia is one of the last ones we've seen in October. Modular blockchain. I'm looking forward to this. I'm trying. I tried to figure it out with the testnet and stuff. I couldn't. I have to get somebody, like hire somebody for hourly or something to help me, like participate in their a testnet and stuff. But that's something I'm looking at a little bit. But really, what I'm looking at is people starting to invest again after now, like in the next couple of months. Because Delphi Digital, what is this? Mirage, NFT content, storytelling. Okay. Paradigm, Uniswap, one, I'm seeing that they have conviction that makes sense to me, and I'll show more reasoning behind why I'm getting more and more bullish on Uniswap. It's like a lot of stars are aligning to push Uniswap in this range, right? Which is pretty crazy because I didn't have anything in mind other than really L1s and maybe some infrastructure like Arweave that's like so widely accepted and believed by OGs and newcomers and callers that are on VCs that made a lot of good calls and on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like Arweave have like a lot of people that support it, so it made it here. But I didn't think any non-layer one would really make it in this chain until I started to see what's going on with Uniswap, which we'll get into. Andreessen Horowitz, this is their main one, not their crypto division, right? So I sometimes glance at this because some crypto projects that they invest in doesn't show up in their crypto. A16Z crypto, which is this one right here. It shows up here, like Matter Labs, right? But generally speaking, A16Z is like, if you had asked me like, what's one URL on the internet that you can, if there's one thing to check to be able to visualize the future, not just blockchain, not just crypto, but overall the future we're going into, with everything, what's going to happen 5 years, 10 years from now, this would be it, right? If you look at their frequency, December 15, December 9, December 7th, December 2nd, 4 investments in a single month. And sometimes when things are frequent, they can do like like they do 4 in a week. Look, 30th, 29th, 28th. You see, then 3 days they did 3. My point is, they are like a fucking machine at deploying billions of dollars at a very rapid pace into all kinds of technology and have a very good hit rate. So that's another thing for them. And again, they're also being hated quite a bit by a lot of Bitcoiners right now. And I don't give a shit. Their track record speaks for themselves, and that's what I care about. They're also they invested in the Uniswap round, right? So keep taking, notes as I'm going through this, because you'll stack up with a lot more notes as we go through this for Uniswap. Coinbase name tag. What is name tag? Name tag is a digital collector. Lens, search, internet collectors view NFTs. This is a common theme. They're all investing heavily just in NFT fraud detection network. Like, take a moment. I mean, a lot of times we can see this kind of information and just kind of like put it to the side. Like, okay, all right, NFT infrastructure. Okay, there's no coin. There's nothing I can invest in. But like, why? What are the chances that all these investors that have crushed it in the last cycle, right? This is not just potentially crushed. Go check out their portfolio. I've done the analysis of every single investment they did with like all these spreadsheets and stuff like that, and each breakdown into all of their spreadsheets that go into all this stuff and how many they called it and all this kind of stuff. I did all this stuff, and it took months. It took months by 3 people full time, right? From the Philippines. So it's not like it took like, a lot of money from me, but I did all that, and these are the people we found. And now we're seeing, while all this is going on, they're constantly investing in NFTs. So at the very least, if nothing happens, like, if you don't if we can't invest in NFT infrastructure, right? Like fraud detection networks and stuff. Like, I don't even know how to invest in this stuff, right? You probably have to be a VC. I have some ideas. I think some DAOs are opening up that you can invest into these things that currently is not as easily accessible for people like you and I. And I'll get into that maybe another video. But what this tells me is that for the chance of NFTs in general as an asset class to be a facade is like very low. It's basically all the best investors since the entire start of the industry have to be wrong. All of them have to be wrong, because all of them are investing pretty much on some kind of NFTs or infrastructure for it or content creation. They all believe in a world where NFTs is going to be a massive thing. So even if I don't invest in anything in NFTs, but I believe, okay, that world is coming, which I pretty much believe, like with a lot of certainty, more than any other single project, really, maybe outside of ETH, then what the investable move for that where the confidence grows is Punks, because Punks is the single biggest bet, simplest bet. It's like ETH. It's like ETH of NFTs, and they don't have to do shit. They don't, like Bored Ape Yacht Club. You still have to follow up. They make a wrong move, they can get canceled. I don't know what can happen, right? They mess up one of their launches. All this big dreams they're going for with the metaverse and games they're building. I think they'll pull it off. Probably. I mean, they have billions of dollars. They were first comer and they crushed it early on. I think they're good entrepreneurs. All that kind of stuff, but they have to keep crushing it. Isn't it a lot easier where Punks can just be like, our value is because all we have to do is just exist? So anyways, that's where this worldview gets more points here, right? This is still high up. I don't know why it's going 6, 7, 8, or it's taking it from here. But you get it, right? This is easiest. Punks is still very high up. So now going back to that. All right, going for one confirmation, Rainmaker Games. Rainmaker Games. I opened that up because Pentoshi talked about it, and now Coin Fund is investing into Rainmaker Games. I'll talk about games in a second because I think I have a play I'm going to take that anybody watching is not going to like about that, but it's something that I'm just deciding for myself. And then there's Foundation by Polychain, which I just talked about a bit ago. He believes in Bitcoin. You know, he's one of the OGs, so he still has a lot of feel for Bitcoin, where you'll see that some of these funds that are a little bit newer, maybe they started, you know, around the last cycle. I mean, not the last cycle. They started maybe after 2017. They're not really into Bitcoin the way that some funds are before 2017, but it's still good to see, you know, what they're doing. And overall, I think that's all there is to be said. It's like currently there's nothing else to be said when I study the VCs, all their investments, only two readings. One, unanimously, a lot of them believe in the future where NFTs is a massive part of our future. Number two is we have some information that Uniswap is more important than we think, right? And going with that idea, let's go into some of the things I have here. So let's see. Uni here. D5 volumes will finally beat C5 volumes. So with SBF and all this stuff going down and all these chains, what I'm expecting, and many people are expecting, is that the volumes in CeFi, centralized exchanges, Binance, Coinbase, all of this stuff should be hindered. And one of the bold predictions by Richard Chen, if you don't know him, just watch his writings from like before 2021 and you'll see the guy is a hard hitter. He can predict the shit out of stuff. And he's predicting, you know, DeFi volumes, DeFi beating finally C5 volumes in 2023. So let's go through some of his predictions. So let's see. I'm going to summarize this for you guys. 3 underrated product trends for 22 to 23 predictions. Okay, so he predicted vertical specific NFT marketplaces. This is basically last year. He said that OpenSea is like in 2021, he said, like, you know, OpenSea was a massive breakthrough as we've seen in 2021, and going into 2022, there's going to be more NFT marketplaces that's breaking down. Like, all NFT should not be on OpenSea. You know, there will be like, if it's a music NFT, it should have its like own kind of like, you know, OpenSea level of music NFTs, right? It's really geared toward music, etc., etc. So the verdict, like, how did he do? He said it depends. And basically, it's a mixed answer. In some ways, it's true, but in other ways, it's not really taken off the way he thought. Okay, trust, minimize cross-chain bridges. This was crazy prediction. If you go read his prediction when he put it, I remember reading it, and I didn't even understand it. I was like, what is it? Like, how does bridges even work? I didn't really even get the concept of it. And since we have seen what happened, so many hacks happen in the bridges, one after one after one. And now when he comes back and says, like, yeah, like he called it really before it happened. Investment DAOs. So he predicted, I believe, that there's going to be a lot more investment DAOs. And this is a prediction by pretty smart people. Like, I've seen it in podcasts over and over again. Olaf Carlson included, which is the owner of Polychain Capital. He predicts big on DAOs. And the way he thinks it's going to play out is a way that I really like. It's basically, he says, ignore all the other bullshit, all these DAOs being created, with all this stuff, DAO for this, DAO for that. The best DAOs and the most biggest DAOs are going to be DAOs that do capital formation. You know, basically, it's a project that's just like, hey, we're a DAO. We are going to be focusing on investing in NFT projects or digital collectibles or digital fashion, right? Let's say there's Flamingo, I think. Do they do that digital fashion? Maybe I'm mixing it with somebody. But there's already a few that are really good that are focusing on just digital fashion, right? And then what happens is, let's say if you were to, you know, buy into their project, right? Then the overall value of the project they invest in, you would grow with it. I love that concept because that means you're literally being able to invest in VCs. You get it? It's like the VC model of DAOs. Like just like Chamath Palihapitiya invested in Multicoin and he didn't have to know anything about Solana and he got that upside and those guys sold as well. Just like that, we can potentially invest into DAOs that are focusing into certain parts of the asset classes and then be a big part of it. And then we can get that upside without following it with as closely. With that said, it brings me to my number 6 here, which I think is a good time to bring it up because not going to invest in crypto games. Again, guys, this video is going to be a little bit all over the place again because, again, there's so many predictions and I'm giving my thoughts in all of it and I'm putting down some things that I'm going to be playing and I might make some separate videos based on going full into depth later on into one of these parts. But just so you know, these points are just high level, right? Like I'm not going to be investing in crypto games anymore or even trying because I realize that they're so far in the risk curve, right? If you have to like really analyze it down, like what gets built on what, right? I've explained this concept before where it's like the, like let's say I'm bullish on Near and then many VCs are investing into like Aurora, which is a project in Near ecosystem. And then a lot of the people I follow on Twitter are bullish on certain things that are built on Near. I don't per se have to buy those things. I'm just adding more points towards my conviction on Near. Because I know if these blow up, it's going to be built on Near. That means Near is going to blow up, right? I won't get the return and I don't have to go so risk curve in it. But I just want to stay on the layer that's higher chance to happen. This is why L1s are so lucrative. It's so good because it's like an ecosystem and things are being built on it. And there's many ways you can track, oh, this is happening, there's so much TVL, there's so much this. Okay, this is a good one that I can invest. It should be pretty safe. It should go up, right? Whereas when you go crypto games, you're basically in the abyss. You're like, not in the L1, not even on the dApps. You're in the very end of the risk curve. You're like pointing at that exact. So unless you're breathing in the discourse and being in that project and playing it and everything, and understanding why they're different and why they're going to figure something out that Axie Infinity could not do, and all this kind of mechanistic stuff that is really depth. You really have to be a specialist in crypto games itself. If you're not doing it to that level, I think it's just too much risk, okay? And the only way I'll invest in it is like this. Is one that I had done, and I never made the video about it because I did something really stupid and I got really pissed off at myself. Let me see if I can find it. Where was it? Anyways, I can't see it right now, but basically 3 or 4 out of the people that I follow, maybe I put it in this here, they were bullish on Castaways. Let me see. Anyways, it was a game. And if you go in OpenSea, what I did is, since the VCs were bullish on that project and 3 or 4 of the one I follow, I was like, all right, it's a game. I'm going to keep a tab on it. Every time there's announcements, I followed it. And they announced when they're going to do their free drop with their rafts. And this raft, they even said it's going to be a part of for the future of the whole game that they create. And these are people who are creating the game, as we go, as they're building it. They're doing weekly, videos on YouTube of what's going to be changing, what's coming, getting, suggestions from the community. It's really cool. I went to that with the day it dropped. It was a free drop. They only released 100 of these, right? I think it was 100. Let me see. I believe it was 100. Yeah, items 100. Yeah, it was only 100. And it was free, but I couldn't get one. I spam clicked it. I couldn't get one. And right after I missed it and it finished sold, I was really upset because it's one of the only things that was a game that I, put alarms for and all that kind of stuff. Long story short, it was just a couple of months ago, like before SBF. And as soon as I refreshed the screen, they were selling it. The first person I could have bought it for is like 0.1 ETH. And I was like, it's like $100 something bucks. And I was like, fucking bullshit. I could have just got it free a couple seconds ago. And now these guys are trying to sell it back to me for $100 bucks. And I didn't do it. I know you're looking at the screen, probably sounds retarded now. And if you go through my model, if it's like multiple people of VCs that are following something, generally it's like it's going to be at least a 1% allocation, which for me should have been like about $5,000 to $10,000. So $100, if I had kept that number in mind, I would have bought it. And this is why you can't trust your emotion for jack shit. I was so pissed that I could have gotten it for free and it became like $100-something. I didn't buy it. I'm like, no, I'm going to wait. Some people are going to sell for a little lower, $40 or something like that. And I refresh. Within the end of an hour or something, it went up to like 0.5 ETH. And I was like, fuck this shit. And I left. I came back later, and I remember it was like a month later I came back. It was like, I think even higher than this. It was like 20-something ETH or something like that. And since then, I was like, that was retarded, man. What the hell did I do? It's like, even at the lowest allocation based on the model that I'm using, it should have been $5,000. So as long as under 5,000, I should have bought it. In fact, I should have bought multiple, as long as it is how many I can buy within $5,000 to $10,000. And that's why the allocation and these numbers are actually really important, and having a system that you can follow. Because man, this game is impossible with emotions, right? Like, I don't see how a human being can go through this without keeping some kind of organizational system to keep them at check, because I was super pissed. There's no way I would have bought that with 5,000. It's only later when I realized the number, I got pissed. Anyways, long story short, since then, I'm like, fuck this. I don't have time to stay on top of this, especially going in 2023 when I'm going to be focusing so much on my business and crypto like this at most once a week. On Sundays, I'll spend like 2-3 hours to just keep an eye on it. Maybe I'll create a video. And my goal is to put some kind of content out 2 to 4 times a month. And if I was to go into games like that, it's not going to work. So coming back to it, the only way we'll get into it is if we see multiple VCs again focusing on a game. Yes, we'll keep tabs on that particular game. And the only other way is if the VCs start buying into a DAO that is into games, which brings up Rainmaker. Rainmaker is now offering a new and interesting way to invest in a portfolio of GameFi NFTs that can be used in earn blockchain games. You see? So this is another way, the play that I'm going to make in games is basically investing into a DAO or some project that has a token or something that accrues value to their overall investments and picks they make. And if a bunch of the VCs believe that they have what it takes to call that shots, then I'm going to go work, invest into them, and then them make the investments into what raft they're going to buy, what land they're going to buy in some other game, what, clothing they're going to get in some other ecosystem. Don't have time to chase all those trends around. That's why they have a whole team doing that. And we can get a ride on that entire play just by piggybacking on them. Okay. What are we at? All right. So I think I'm going to put a separate video with these crypto YouTube, because what I did is I took notes on certain parts of certain videos that people are predicting some stuff that's really cool that I want to share. But I think this video is going to get way too long. We're already over 30 minutes. I'll cut this soon. But to wrap this video up, and by wrap it up, meaning at least another 10 minutes or 5, is CryptoPunks has a lot of points towards it. Talked about that. Bunch of people are talking about wallets like breaking out, like being a whole war for wallets, right? So like if you had to like look at it in a simple form, like 2017, apparently where a lot of the exchanges started to battle, right? Like Binance came in 2017 and a few others, Huboi and all these things started to emerge around that cycle. It wasn't just Coinbase, and there was a whole clash with them, which exchange has the most volume, etc., etc. 2021 is the wars of the L1s, Soluna Vax, which layer 1 is going to be the most powerful, etc., which is going to be the ETH killer. That is like the strongest narrative, you could say. And some people are believing, when I say some people, it means multiple of very smart people within our list in different ways are basically saying wallet wars are coming, whether this year or next year, right? So it's not going to be the only game in town. It's going to be MetaMask, but other wallets. Now, again, whenever I look at some stuff like this, you have to take a moment and kind of keep your mind open. And this is probably one of the hardest things to do is like, wallets, I can invest in it, so it's nothing for me. But we have to always take a moment and kind of like think, what is the second order consequences, right? I gave this example before. I seen NFTs early 2021. Like OpenSea was a thing in A16Z's portfolio, right? But I went and searched OpenSea on CoinMarketCap like a dumbass, didn't see any coins for it, so I ignored it. If I had gotten deep into it around like February into NFTs, I got actually into NFTs like way later, like August, right? But if I got into it, maybe I could have at the very least buy a punk. And I think early 2021, it was like still 5 ETH. Don't quote me, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm just giving you an idea that just because something doesn't have a coin, we can't just ignore it, because it's very possible that one of the bigger narratives that play out in the next cycle has no coin. The investment is through a DAO or some kind of NFT, very likely with an NFT, extremely likely. But what if it's not even one of those? It's something completely different, right? Like a DAO, or you get the point. So the way I'm thinking about it, just with MetaMask, I'll give you the example. It's like, okay, if MetaMask is the most famous one right now, which it is means that it drives a lot more power towards ETH, because MetaMask is a big ETH platform, right? So if MetaMask is the biggest one, so if MetaMask 10x's growth, in a way, you could allocate that growth that it's being attributed to Ethereum. They're bound to come across Ethereum if they're on MetaMask. Whereas if they're on Phantom, it's on Solana, right? So these wallets are a big deal because they're like the gateway to a particular chain. So if this is going to be a big war where which wallets take off, something to keep in mind is what is the native chain that most people in that wallet go through. It doesn't matter if it allocates with all chains. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what it culturally, right? MetaMask now has other chains, but culturally it's still an Ethereum chain, Ethereum-based wallet, right? For the most part. So that's how I would keep an eye on it, right? If wallets start to take off, and then there's a whole idea again that I added here, which I'll get into, maybe another video with MEV profits, which I don't fully even understand, but again, multiple very smart people are pointing out that this is a huge opportunity. Daily volumes towards most of 2021, you had $50 million, $100 million in profit in this, right? It's basically being done by chains. And if that was to be attributed to wallets instead, right? Again, I'll probably do a deep dive so I can explain and me understand it better. But all we have to know for now is that wallets have a chance to basically reap the profits, a percentage of the total profits that a chain gets. So what Ethereum creates, imagine if MetaMask could get a percentage of that market share, because they're some things that Ethereum executes on is being done on the wallet, level, so to speak. And some people are believing that's what's going to happen. And when I'm combining these two things, and if we start to see more information along these lines, like, more wallets are taking off in different chains, and guess what? Now wallets are starting to do this. So not everything is done by layer one, but also the wallet is taking some of the load for the layer one, etc. Then we should pay attention to that damn wallet. And at that damn wallet that's getting huge amounts of profit because it's doing some stuff, happens to be, let's say, for example, for Near, that's a huge point towards Near. You get my thought process, right? All right, so explain my thesis on this, explain this very well. Uni is starting to become more and more high up in the list. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'll explain this. I think I explained all of this other one. Near, not as much, but I think I've explained this on my Twitter quite a bit. Like basically, I'm just getting more people who are. I'll touch on this a little bit. Let me explain this because I don't want to talk about it too much. I don't want to make this a hate channel or what, but I'm getting even more pulled off Bitcoin because of how it's used as a religion. And let me explain, because it's not the same way how normally people think it's religion. The normal way people call Bitcoin a religion is that they just have blind faith for it. They will push that chain no matter what because that's what they got and they seen from the beginning, and they're closed off to everything else, which is true. Many people are like that. They're called Bitcoin maximalists, right? But the way I'm seeing it as a religion is like this. There's this guy called Matthew Crater in YouTube, and this guy
is Matthew Crater from
he's a good guy. I have to give him respect because he's actually, even though I don't believe, I'm not following his worldview at all whatsoever, but he's very true to his word. He's one of the YouTubers who've been here, before the 2021 bull market and got a lot of people into Bitcoin, right? I was watching him with Anthony Pompiano when I bought Bitcoin in like May 2020, right? At that time, I only bought Bitcoin. And it was during the crash. And watching his videos gave me confidence to buy some Bitcoin at that time. So I don't want to shit on him, but the way he goes about explaining things is he's a Bitcoin maximalist, through and through. But this Bitcoin is a religion, in my view, right now, and a way that maximalists use a lot of their intelligence, very smart guy, to convince with Bitcoin is like very similar to how we do in religion with God. You realize that with any religion, nobody blames God, right? Like you get hit in a car accident, nobody's like, man, I blame this car accident on God. It's always credit to God, right? It's always credit to God. Oh, I got a new promotion. I got a new big client in my business. Whatever it is, if you're religious, hey, God willing. It's not me, it's God's willing. That's the way. Like all the good things, the credit goes to God. But anything that's unexplainable, anything that's bad happened, unexplainable, then it must be part of the path, or it's basically the attribution is always positively goes to God. How does this work in Bitcoin? Okay. All these chains are blowing up. You see what happened with Solana? We told you. I'm talking at a Bitcoin maximalist. You see what happened with Luna? We told you. This is why Bitcoin's the answer. And a lot of times that kind of makes sense, right? To someone when you say it like that. You see, this is the answer from the beginning. Nothing happened to here. And they make the case in that way. But that's not how technology works. Just cause this thing is broken, it just means that thing is broken. That's it. That's what that means. Luna broke down and crashed and burned. It means synthetic algorithm coins. I'm summarizing. I know Do Kwon has some fraudery and whatnot, right? Like, don't take this to the full, detective level. I'm just saying the experiment that they ran didn't work. It broke, and the coin crashed. But because that crashed, that makes Bitcoin go up. It's that's a fallacy in reasoning, right? And that's the reasoning they use with everything. We told you since 2012, this is the only thing. And you guys go run around, try this and that, and you get burned and you cry and you come home to mama. You could take that as that, yes, the coins that have been around from the longest and survived multiple bear markets, that is what should be sound. And obviously Bitcoin has good qualities to it, which is why it's still a thing and many smart people believe in it with its 21 cap and blah, 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 blah. But constantly, anything that breaks in a industry that is a teenager, 14 years old, and anything breaks, you constantly push people to Bitcoin. It doesn't make sense. So every time I keep seeing this now and this reasoning being used, it gets me more and more turned off. This attribution system where we told you so, all of this could have been, avoided if you did Bitcoin. No, man, this is how technology is. It's like would have said that. It's like sitting and saying Amazon is the only thing that would have made it. In 1990, whatever, 1995, 1990, every 3-4 years, Amazon is the one. We told you, everybody only buy Amazon. There's going to be no ever Facebook, no ever Google, nothing else will ever create it. It's only Amazon. Because why? Because this 100 other companies failed. No, man. 100 other companies failed and burned and crashed and went, pets.com disappeared, and still there was Facebook, and still there was Amazon, still there was Google, right? It's not one or the other. So that's what I really mean. All right, so I'll leave it there, guys. Hopefully you got something out of it. I'm still putting this together. I'm still munching it and swallowing it and digesting it. And I'm just making this video while this is like pretty still, preliminary, right? And over the next couple of weeks and really probably the next quarter, I'm going to make my thesis for a little bit more, solidify my thesis on what projects I'm going to get into. Okay, the what. The when is by the traders, which is completely different. This is something that I'm not going to even get into right now, but that's the pieces we follow. What is dictated by the people who call the projects, when to get in, when to go in heavy, is by the traders who have called the tops and bottoms correctly, and the people who don't always call tops and bottoms, when their number of shots they made is low and then the percentage of accuracy is extremely high. When they start saying this is bottoming, that's when we're getting. So that's a complete different time. But this is the start of what to get into and reshaping this list, which is going to be starting to look quite a bit different, especially as we go through the bottom half, as we go through our past this quarter one. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching.